It wasn't much of a challenge for LSU as they took on their last regular season opponent this weekend, rolling over Texas A&M 50-7. And it is that unstoppable offense that will now take on the Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC Championship. We're going to go live now to Baton Rouge to hear from Coach Orgeron.
33 points a game, 200 on the ground, 220 passing. Jake Fromm's excellent quarterback. We all know about him. DeAndre Swift, one of the best tailbacks in America. Big wide receivers and a great offensive line. A very, very good system. Very physical football team. Again, on defense, by far the best defense we've seen. 10 points per game. They're basically out of 4-3, some 3-4. Only giving up 257 a game. Tyler Clark and their defensive line, I watch them all the time because I watch opponents' offensive line. They're very well coached. They're quick. They're disruptive. J.R. Reed's one of the best safeties we're going to see. He and Richard LeCounte, two outstanding safeties. Good on special teams. This is going to be a battle. It's supposed to be for the SEC Championship. We're going to have a regular week's work here. Thursday morning, we'll meet at 11 o'clock. We'll have an early practice, and then Thursday evening we'll go on down to Atlanta and have a regular Friday practice in the Georgia Dome Friday afternoon. Any questions?
How much has Maurice Hampton's development kind of freed you up to defensively to do the things you wanted when maybe Todd Harris was still healthy and whatnot?
Say it again now.
How much has Maurice Hampton's development, I guess, freed you up to do other things defensively?
Yeah, it gives us some flexibility. It gives us, big game to rest Grant Delpit, and I think that was the biggest thing. And give us a chance to put Grant closer to the football, put him in the post when we need him. Be more flexible.
Hey, Coach. Georgia fans are known to travel pretty well, and this obviously isn't very far of a trip for them. So how are y'all prepared knowing that this is more of a home game for Georgia?
Well, I know our fans are going to be there. I feel good about that. Everywhere we've gone, we've had great fans. But we will treat this as an away game. We will have crowd noise on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll be very well prepared for all the Georgia fight songs they'll play on our field all week.
Coach, right over here. We did something with Devin White a couple weeks ago, and he told us how he still stays in touch with a lot of the players, says he texts you every now and then. I was just wondering, how many former players have you heard from over the course of the season, and how much does their support mean to the program?
It means a lot. We welcome them back. I don't know how many guys were at the Tiger Walk, but it was unbelievable. It was the biggest group of ex-players we had at the Tiger Walk this Saturday. Devin White texts me every once in a while. So Davis White comes by. Duke Riley comes by. Darius is coming by. Leonard's always here. It means a lot to get all these guys back. And we on every Tuesday, we show a highlight film of our guys in the NFL or what they're doing in the NFL on every Tuesday. So we honor those guys and we keep in touch with them. We tell them they're a Tiger for life, and we mean it.
Coach, down here, right? Who taught Damone Clark that bull rush that he pulled Saturday?
Got to give it to Billy Johnson. Billy Johnson has taken our guys and really has increased our pass rush knowledge. And I think Coach Johnson, you can see the difference in Coach Johnson's techniques coming time and time again. I give him the credit.
Yeah, you touched on recruiting earlier. There have been times over the years, some coaches have grumbled about how this game, makes it hard to. It comes at a time when recruiting is so. Yeah. You're in a crucial part now. You have the early signing period, it's even more crucial. Obviously, this is what you aspire to be in the championship game. But does it make it difficult? Just talk about where it falls on the calendar in such a crucial time for recruiting.
Yeah, it's crunch time. Obviously, I'm glad that we did a lot of work ahead of time, and we've had a majority of our guys that are going to sign. Have already visited, which helps us. Now, we will not be in many home visits. There may be one or two home visits if we have to this week. I just made my schedule for next week. I'm going to be in 20. I'm going to see 20 players, and that's in 1 week. So it does put a little crunch on you. We got to get it done, but it's a good problem to have.
Ed, are you confident that no matter what happens Saturday, that you are in the playoff?
No, I ain't thinking about it. I'm not buying into that at all. We got to win. I don't know if we got to win to get in the playoffs or not. That's not. I'm not even talking about that. Our goal is to beat Georgia and win the SEC, and then let's see what happens. So that's not coming into play. We're not talking about that, and we're not even considering it right now.
Coach, Burrows said after the game that one of the things about this team is that, you know, he wasn't a starter for 3 years at Ohio State. Clyde was too short, and he mentioned that you were fired. Did you bring up your story to your team for motivation at one point, or?
I think they know it. I think a lot of you have written about it a lot, so I think they know it. It's very well documented. You know what I'm saying? And no, but I think the guys read that. We don't talk about that. And but you know what? He mentioned that, and he mentioned that to someone, and I think it brings up a good point. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, I remember being with Sean Payton. And it was my first NFL meeting. And I'd been in college for a while now, and I was a little nervous to be in that meeting. I didn't know what to expect, coaching NFL players. And this is what Sean Payton said. It doesn't matter how you got here, you're here. Now make the best of it. And I think that's what these players do, and that's what I did.
And Clyde, a lot of people didn't think he was going to beat out the two freshmen that came in. Did anybody on the staff kind of think that too, or?
I don't think that. I think that nobody thought that he'd have the great year that he's had. I thought he'd be a good back. No question about that. But I think he's exceeded all of our expectations except Clyde's expectations. And that's a credit to him. It's a credit to Tommy Robinson, but mostly to Clyde.
You talked yesterday about how you've scaled back on practice the last couple of weeks, preparing for a long season.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like from the beginning and the preseason even, you've made steps with running backs, taking time, things like that. Throughout your years in coaching, what things did you pick up to know how to organize practice throughout the season?
Yeah, I really followed when I went to the NFL 1 year, see how they practiced with a limited roster. And then when I took over the roster at USC, we had a roster similar to the NFL because of the sanctions. So I practiced the same way, and I've kept that. And as the season has gone on here, Tommy Moffitt and Jack, they measure how fast our guys are playing. And when we're starting to slow down, they tell me when we're slowing down, so I start to cut back on practice. And it may be a drill or so, it may be a couple of minutes. But every week we scale down back on practice, and we had 5 groups playing at 20 miles an hour, which is the highest we played all season last year. So those methods work. They give me the information. I make the decision how much we scale back, and it's worked for us.
Has that been something new this year throughout that you've learned through like your time here?
Yeah, you know, I think that it's been like that for 3 years, but I've scaled back more this year than we ever have, especially the hitting.
Thank you.
Ed, what are some of the specifics that you saw on tape that changed defensively from this game to the previous ones, trends, maybe specific plays that you saw corrected as opposed to breakdowns in other games?
You talking about our last game?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the pressure on the quarterback. Obviously, we had some 4-man rushes, but they were disguises. They did a good job of disguising everything. I thought Kellen Chasson and Rashard Lawrence had their best game. I thought we didn't let Kellen Mond set his feet. There was no time where he could set his feet. And I thought we had some tight coverage. We played a lot of man coverage. We played a lot of match coverage. Our guys were all over their DBs and they contested balls. I think starting fast, 7 times we made them punt, made a difference in the ball game. I think it was all about the pressure on the quarterback.
And being a native son, I'm sure you have a special appreciation for what this game means to people here. What have you sensed from the fans that it means to them going back to Atlanta?
Yeah, they fired up, obviously, and that's what they want. LSU wants a winner, and being an SEC championship means a lot. This is my first one, so a lot of people have been telling me about it. I'm sure it's going to be a great game, but you know what? Today's Tell the Truth Monday. We're going to take it one day at a time. This is not too big for our football team. Our team can handle this. Our coaching staff can handle this. It's going to be about beating Georgia. We're not going to get all the stuff outside to make it too big of a game than it already is.
And if I could follow with a totally different question, Burrow's impact both in the short term and long term on this program. How do you see that?
Yeah, I do believe, and I said it before, he's one of the most important recruits in LSU history in my mind. I'm not one to say that. And there's other guys that have been great here, Kevin Falk, Bert Jones, you name them all. I'm just saying he's one of the most important. And the reason why he was able to change LSU's offense from a pro-style offense to a spread, and hopefully is here to stay. So I think that the things that he's done, we not to say that we couldn't do it another quarterback, but he was the perfect quarterback at the perfect time for us to get into the spread offense.
In front on your left here. You mentioned Fromm and your respect for him. Kind of a two-part question. I'm interested in what in particular you like about him, but also why do you think he's been under 50% in each of his last 4 games, completion-wise?
Yeah. Well, I don't know that much about him. You know, I watched 3 or 4 games, and what I'm saying is we're not done evaluating. It's going to take the whole week. So I can't tell you why he's thrown under 50% yet. I can't tell you that. I do know this. He's a winner. I think he's a fantastic young man. He's a leader, and they believe in him at Georgia, and he's won a lot of games. And, so that tells you a lot about a quarterback.
Hey, Coach, up here on your right, there's so much talk about the college football playoff, obviously, and where the top 4 or 6 teams stand. The way this season has gone, how has that best served your team for the road ahead, not just this weekend, but the possibility of playing in the Final Four later this month?
Yeah, you know, we don't talk about it, and that has not been talked about yet in our meeting. Now, do they read it? Yes. Do I know about it? Yes. You can see it on TV and all that, but, you know, we control our own destiny. And we got to win every game to get to where we want to go. And so far we've done that. Now the next step is beating Georgia, which is a mighty, mighty big task, as we know that. Now, whatever happens in this game, hopefully it's a win. After the win, we're going to look at what they tell us to go, whatever it may be. We're going to prepare for that next game, and we're going to go after it. If there's a next game, we're going to prepare for that next one, and we're going to go after it. And that's been our mindset the whole season.
Hey, Coach, right here. I guess kind of as a secondary, how do you prepare for a Georgia receiving core that will probably be without its 2 top receivers, at least for the first half?
Well, we're going to, obviously they've recruited very well. And just like us, we talk about next man up. And I'm sure they have some guys chomping at the bits to play in a big game like this, and they're very well coached, and they'll play well. So we'll look at the projected starters. We'll look at the games that they play. And we'll evaluate them just like everybody else.
Coach, on your right up here, how much easier after 12 games is recruiting players on offense when they've seen it as opposed to in the offseason selling an idea to them?
It's pretty good. I really, especially in the quarterback position. We're able to attract some of the top quarterbacks in the country right now. They're really interested. Tight ends, I don't have to tell them that we are going to throw the ball. They see it, we're going to throw the football. Obviously, receivers, we've gotten a lot of attention from receivers all over the country. Top running backs, it's just made a world of difference to see it on TV. Every time you turn on the TV, they're talking about LSU's offense. So that has helped.
You've said before that you think Joe Burrow won over the team at last year's Georgia game. I mean, what was it about that game that you think did that?
To be the quarterback with stature at LSU, in my opinion, it's my opinion only, you have to win a big game. And that was a big game. I think they were the number 2 team in the country. And he proved to his team that he can win that game. And obviously, he beat Alabama this year in 12 games. So he's been backing up what he's been saying.
Hey, Coach, I want to ask you just a couple things about coaching. Earlier this year, you said these are the 3 things I really do well, like recruit, motivate, defensive line. Is it part of the evolution of a coach to put your ego in check and realize you can't do it all and that you have to delegate and other people have to do their jobs?
Yeah, when you get your first job, you want everything to be right. You want everything to be perfect. And I remember I couldn't sleep at Ole Miss. I couldn't go home. I mean, I just didn't want to let the job alone. But, you can't do it. There's no way. And you look at other people and say, well, they not do it like we did it over here, and that doesn't work. And then I realized that I got to be able to be the CEO, organize everything, be the boss, hold everybody accountable, but also do my part, and then let them do their job. And I want to work at an atmosphere that everybody wants to come to work. everybody wants to have a chance to be successful, and I think we've done that.
And you coach.
Well, you've been listening to LSU head coach Ed Orgeron live there in Baton Rouge talking about the SEC championship, his first one, of course, LSU on top of the SEC West for the first time since 2011. Alabama, Auburn, one of those teams is not in the matchup. Now, Ed Orgeron said there in his press conference that they have a big task ahead of them facing Georgia. He calls Jake Fromm a winner, says they are proud of the way LSU is putting pressure on the quarterback. We're going to break down this matchup with Barrett Slee next.